Today we are going to use PuTTY to ensure that we have SSH client-side logging. What we are going to do is create an ssh.ps1 file and just set it to this. It's very simple. Just PuTTY at args 0. So this is going to make life easier for people to use the PuTTY SSH session, and we are going to have our logging. So how this looks is, first of all, there's a couple requirements. The requirement one is that you uninstall the Windows SSH client. So if you go into your optional features and you uninstall the Open SSH client, that may come bundled in with Windows. Do that because that is a great way to sidestep all of your, that's a great way to step any auditability on the client side that I know of, unless you recompile OpenSSH and you have a new ssh.exe that writes everything out from the screen. But we're just going to make life easy and just use PuTTY because it has inbuilt support for logging. So go get your either 64-bit or 30-bit PuTTY installer, and that's all that you need from there. If you want to follow along, go get nmap downloaded and installed with the installer. So that's just going to be this. Get that, install it, and you can follow along. So we're just going to pretend that we're coming to a new system and we are the system admin. We need to ensure that SSH client-side logging is a thing, that it exists. The first thing that we need to do is open up Registry Editor, and the second thing we need to do is open up PuTTY. So we have our PuTTY client, or our PuTTY configuration, and we have the registry editor. So we are going to just have these open side by side, and let's go ahead and go all the way back out to computer, go to HKey current user, find software, find Simon Tatham, and find PuTTY, then find sessions. Wonderful. So we have default settings. Chances are you do not have this. So we're just going to pretend that you either don't have sessions or you don't have that other config. No problem. We have PuTTY configuration here. We're going into the logging area. We are going to actually close this out because you will now see this, and you can see that these are different. Anyway, we need to select Printable Output as this radio button. And from here, we need to find a place that we want to store our log files. So go to your C drive, and let's create a new folder and call it crying. Inside of crying is where our logs will go. Why? I don't know, because I just felt like naming it that. And that was an accidental click, but it was so perfect because that's what we want. Always append to the end of it. We do not want to ask the user about logging. They will be logging without knowing, and so we will do that. Anyway, the log file name, go to Browse, go to crying, and we are going to rename this file to and y hyphen and m hyphen and d hyphen and t. If I can type and t properly. So, and t minus. Okay, so you might be thinking, wow, we're done. No, we're not done. We actually, if we go over here, you'll see that there's still no sessions. Why? Because by default, you have to save it. So go ahead and just make sure omit known password fields is there, because otherwise you're going to start writing passwords, plain text to disk. Terrible idea. Go up to session and select your default settings and click save. If we come back to Registry Editor and hit F5, you'll see we have an arrow now. We can now click this, and if we click in here and hit L, we should see log file clash. That's going to be 0. Log file name, looks like that's good, and log type, that's good. So take note of these, and if you wanted to use Policy Manager and in some way just deploy these policies out, you could just figure out a way to export and then import these. So you could package it and ship these off to automatically place the registry keys and do this type of stuff through the network. So you can definitely get these settings set up and enforced with like Policy Manager, I would bet, and then you don't really have to worry about a whole lot. So now that we've got that set up, we're in pretty good shape. I would assume that you have ssh.ps1 saved like this with PuTTY, args 0, and this, I'm assuming the ssh.ps1 is inside of your system32. So now if we open up PowerShell and we type ssh attack at localhost, we'll notice that PuTTY opens. Very nice. So now it's going to ask us to log in. And we have a working client. Just like that. And now we could go into Program Files, nmap, list inside this directory. We can see there's an nmap.exe. We're going to call nmap.exe against localhost. We should see 3 open ports, 22, 145, and 445. I'm sorry, did I say something else than 135? Yeah, 22, 135, 445. I probably got mixed up. But anyway, that's really cool that it scanned in 13.37 seconds. I feel like I've seen that number a lot today for some really strange reason, and I have no idea why. It's really weird, and I don't like it. Why am I seeing Lee everywhere? Stop it. But anyway, that's that. It's like I'm haunted or something by this weird number. And now you're probably thinking, okay, come on, man, the joke's over. Show us the logs. So go into crying, and here we can see we have these logs here. If we scroll down quite a bit, you'll notice that we have nmap called, and we have the scan results. So we could monitor this file to see if there's we could monitor this file in case there's ever mention of starting nmap. If there's any mention of starting nmap, then we know nmap is probably being used. And if that's the case, is it supposed to be used? Because if it is, then fine, good. And if not, then why is nmap being used? Or maybe we decide to search up wget, and perhaps there is someone that's using wget to get an executable, and you log that, and now you have that information, possibly even forwarded to a server where you're aggregating logs. And now you have a nice way to trace where a certain file came from or how a certain file got someplace. So this is just good posture, I think, for auditing SSH. Hopefully this was helpful, and if any questions, throw a comment down. Also subscribe if you want more.